Okay, hello grade 10s. So this video is the solutions to the problems that were posted on Wednesday morning. So if you didn't try to do the questions, there are 14 of them. I really encourage you to do them and then come back and watch this. And if you're already watching this and you haven't done them, and maybe you don't know how to do the new stuff, then I encourage you maybe just watch the first couple and then stop the video, go try the rest, and come back. Okay? I mean, if you just watch this and copy my answers, I don't think you're getting anything out of it, and I think it's just a waste of your time. And this comes up a lot next year, so it's a good thing to know how to do. It is tricky, like I said. I think it's some of the hardest stuff in the unit. Okay, so here we go. We're just asked to factor each one, and there's a bunch of them. So remember the key. This is A, B, and C, and we don't really care about A. So for now, you can ignore the first term. It's not going to really be important to us. But in every single case, we need to find two numbers that multiply to C and add to B. And once you do that, you're done. You just put it in brackets and it's all over. So in the first case here, C equals 20, B equals 12. So we need numbers that multiply to 20 and add to 12. In this case, everything's positive. So we know we need two positives. So I do 20 divided by 1, and I get 20. So plus 1 and plus 20. And then I check them. I add them together. And if when I add them, I get this value, then these are my numbers. So 1 plus 20 is 21. So that doesn't work. 20 divided by 2, and remember, you can use a calculator, so 20 divided by 2 is 10. So that means we have 2 and 10. So plus 2 plus 10. If we add those, we get 12. And that's B. So our numbers are 2 and 10. So that means when we factor this whole thing, I'm just going to say equals. We get two sets of brackets. That's typically how these things are going to go. We always have an x, and we always have another x. And then in each set of brackets, we just write each of these numbers separately. So plus 2, plus 10. And you might remember from last week, if we FOIL this out, we'll end up with the exact same equation we started with, and that tells us it's the correct answer. So if you watch this without doing anything, definitely pause it now and try the next one. Because again, they're both positive, so it's very, very similar. Okay, so hopefully you did that. So we need two numbers that multiply to 40 and add to 13. So 40 divided by 1, remember everything's positive, so our numbers are positive. 40 divided by 1 is 40, so plus 1 plus 40. If I add 40 and 1, I get 41, so it doesn't work. 40 divided by 2 is 20, so I get plus 2 and plus 20. 2 plus 20 is 22, not 13. 40 divided by 3, so 40 divided by 3 doesn't work. 40 divided by 4 is 10, and you don't have to write these down. I'm only doing this for instruction purposes. Basically, you just need to write down the right ones. But if this helps you, if this process helps, then that's great. 4 plus 10 is 14, so close. Usually when we get really close, it means we're almost there. So 40 divided by 5 is 8 plus 5 plus 8. 5 plus 8 is 13, so those are our numbers. So I write this as x plus 5 and x plus 8. Remember, the order doesn't matter. If you wrote x plus 8 and x plus 5, I assure you it's the same thing. And if you don't believe me, FOIL this one and then FOIL this one. Okay, so those are the easiest ones when everything's positive. Now we get into ones where C is positive and B is negative. So we need to multiply to a positive and add to a negative. Now what that means, if you're multiplying to positive, then that means you're either two positives, because a positive times a positive is a positive, or you're two negatives, because a negative times a negative is also a positive. And in this case, if we're going to take two numbers that are positive and add them together, we're never going to get a negative number. So this doesn't work. But if we take two negative numbers and add them, we will end up with a more negative number. So we need two negatives. So I start with 1. 22 divided by 1 is 1, and I know they're both negative, so negative 1, negative 22. Negative 1 minus 22 is negative 23, which is not negative 13. 22 divided by 2 is 11, so negative 2 and negative 11. I'll go to the calculator because I know some of you will need it, so I just want to show you how to do this. So negative 2 minus 11. I get negative 13, and then I check my b value, and it is negative 13. These are our numbers. So to factor this thing, it's x minus 2 from here times x minus 11. Okay, so again, if you just watch me do this one, the next one's very similar. So pause, try the next one, and come back. So again, we multiply to a positive, we add to a negative, so we know it's two negatives. All right, so here we go. 49 divided by 1 is 49, so negative 1 minus 49 is negative 50. Doesn't work. 49 divided by 2, I don't think that works, so 49 divided by 2, decimal, skip it. 49 divided by 3, decimal, skip it. 49 divided by 4, decimal, skip it. 49 divided by 5 is a decimal, skip it. 49 divided by 6 is a decimal, skip it. Holy cow, are we ever going to get an answer here? 49 divided by 7 is 7. So that means another option is minus 7 and minus 7. So let's add them together. So negative 7 minus 7 is negative 14. These are our numbers. So to factor it, we have x minus 7. X minus 7. Now, just a little trick here. If both of these are the same, we can write these as we just write x minus 7 once, because we know they're both x minus 7, and then we just say that it's squared, because it happens twice. If you don't get this part, not a big deal. We'll deal with that a little more later in the unit. Okay, next up. All right, so now we have a negative at the end and a positive at the middle. So we need to multiply to negative 32 and add to positive 14. If two numbers multiply to a negative, we always have a positive and a negative. And then I look at the sign here. If it's positive, this means our bigger number is positive. Because if you combine a positive and a negative by adding, and you end up with positive, that means you had more of it. So the number's got to be bigger. So I do 32 divided by 1, and I get 1. So plus 1 and minus 32, or minus 1 and plus 32. If I add 1, so 1 minus 32 is, that's not 14. Negative 1 plus 32, that's not 14. So I do 32 divided by 2, and I get 16. So plus 2 minus 16, or minus 2 plus 16. I just write both pairs. Again, you don't have to write any of this. All you need is the final answer, but if it's wrong and you've shown me some work, you're going to get most of the marks anyway. So try to show me the work. Let's do these. Positive 2 subtract 16. 2 minus 16 is negative 14. All right. Oh, never mind. We want positive 14. So this isn't it. But I would bet that if this one's negative, I got a feeling this one's going to be positive because we changed these signs. So that will probably change the sign of the answer. So negative 2 plus 16 is 14. And that's what we wanted. So our answer is x minus 2, x plus 16. Sweet. All right, so this is sort of the third type. So if you didn't get this one, try this one now that you've seen me do it. So please pause and try. All right, we numbers that multiply to negative 48 and add to 13. We know it's a positive and a negative again, and the bigger one is going to be positive because this is positive. So 48 divided by 1. So plus 1, negative 48, minus 1, positive 48. 1 minus 48 is not 13. Negative 1 plus 48 is not 13. 48 divided by 2 is 24. So plus 2 minus 24, or minus 2 plus 24. Oh, had to sneeze. I'm back. It's funny because for you, I probably Never went anywhere, but I paused it, sneezed, and now I'm back. All right, so 2 minus 24 is negative 22. No deal. Negative 2 plus 24 is positive 22. No deal. We keep going. 48 divided by 3 is 16. So plus 3 minus 16, negative 3 plus 16. Remember, we said the bigger number is positive. So if it's going to be one of these, this has got to be the one. But if you're not good with that, you can just check it. So 3 minus 16 is negative 13. But we want positive, so this isn't it. Negative 3 plus 16 is positive 13. And then I look at my b value. I'm good to go. This is my answer, so I get x minus 3, x plus 16. Okay, moving on. All right, next one. We've got plus plus, right? Plus plus, so everything's going to be positive. So multiplies to 16, adds to 8. And everything's positive, which is good to know. So 16 divided by 1 is 1. So 1 and 16. 1 plus 16 is 17, not 8. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 plus 8 is 10. Doesn't work. 16 divided by 3 is a decimal. Doesn't work. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So I get plus 4. Plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. This is our number. So we get x plus 4. X plus 4. Or remember, if both things are the same, we just write it once, and then we say that it's squared, or it happens twice. Note, it's not a 2 out front. Okay, I really would like you to try the rest of them, to pause, try them, and then keep watching. But of course, you can like try one and then watch. Try one and then watch. Okay, so here we go. So multiply to positive 100 and add to negative 20. So if we multiply to a positive, it's either plus plus or minus minus. And if we add to a negative, well, it can't be both positive because where would the negative come from? So 100 divided by 1 is 1, so minus 1 minus 100. Those don't make negative 20. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Negative 2 subtract 50 is not negative 20. Let's try 3. 100 divided by 3 is no. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So negative 4 minus 25. So negative 4 minus 25 is negative 29. No, we're getting closer. So 100 divided by 5 is 20. So I know they're both negative. Negative 5 minus 20. So let's try that. Negative 5 minus 20 is negative 25. Well, that doesn't work. Okay, so I keep going. 100 divided by 6 doesn't work. 100 divided by 7 doesn't work. 100 divided by, sorry, check 8. Oh no. Divided by 9. No. 100 divided by, oh, it's 10. So negative 10, negative 10. And if we do negative 10 minus 10, we get negative 20. This is our answer. And so we have x minus 10 times x minus 10, or if they're both the same, we write it once and square it. All right, so let's see what you got left here. 6 questions to go. I'm going to keep going. Again, I encourage you, pause, try a question, and then watch me do it. And then I'll post a little quiz today as well, and that'll be due Sunday evening. Thank you for those of you that are doing this stuff, by the way. You know, if it seems pointless or whatever, just remember you're trying to get ready for next year, and also you're trying to do well this year. So in this case, we need two numbers that multiply to negative 20 and add to what? Oh, right. This is a 1, so add to negative 1. So if we have two numbers that multiply to a negative, we know it's a positive and a negative. If they add to a negative, that means the negative will be the bigger number. So let's do this. 20 divided by 1 is 20. So plus 1 minus 20, or minus 1 plus 20. Again, the reason I write both pairs here is because we multiply to a negative. So 1 minus 20 is no. Negative 1, no. Neither of those is going to give us negative 1. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So plus 2 minus 10, or minus 2 plus 10. 2 minus 10 is negative 8, not negative 1. Negative 2 plus 10 is 8, not negative 1. 20 divided by 3, I'll go to the calculator. Doesn't work. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So I either have plus 4 minus 5 or minus 4 plus 5. So plus 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Oh, that's what we want. So this is our answer. So it's x plus 4, x minus 5. Some of you are probably noticing patterns in this stuff, and that's awesome. If you are, just roll with it, and you're probably right. If it works, there's a lot of shortcuts to this. If you know your times tables, some of you might find this very easy. Okay, part J, which is the 10th question, is again negative, negative. I encourage you to pause, try the question, and come back. Okay, so if we multiply to a negative, we know that it's plus minus. Ooh, I don't know what that was. We know that it's plus minus. And if it adds to a negative, we know that this is the bigger. The negative is bigger. So here we go. 63 divided by 1 is 63. So plus 1 minus 63. Or minus 1 plus 63. Neither one of these pairs can make 18. There's just no way. So 63 divided by 2, nothing. 63 divided by 3 is 21. So plus 3 minus 21, or negative 3 plus 21. So 3 minus 21 is, negative 18. So those are my numbers. This one's not. So we get x minus 3 and x plus 21. I didn't need to check the last one because I already found my answer. All right, 4 questions to go. So, two numbers that multiply to a positive, multiply to 49 positive. So it's either 2 positives or 2 negatives. And it adds to negative 14, which means it's 2 negatives. So 49 divided by 1. I feel like we've seen these numbers. We have. Is this the same question? Ugh. It is the same question. All right, I'm going to pretend I never did it. 49 divided by 1 is 49. So minus 1 minus 49. 49 divided by 2, decimal. Divided by 3, decimal. Divided by 4, decimal. 5, nope. 6, decimal. 7, there we go. So negative 7 and negative 7. Negative 7 minus 7 is negative 14. And we already did this one. Sorry about that. I'd fix it, but this video is 18 minutes long, and I don't want to do it again. Okay. You could change this to a plus if you want a different question. And then in the end, the answer would be x plus 7, x plus 7. And remember, if we have the same thing twice, we square it. All right, next one. Multiply to positive 28. If it multiplies to a positive, it's plus plus or minus minus. Adds to negative 11. Both negatives. 28 divided by 1 is 28, so minus 1 minus 28. 28 divided by 2 is 14, so minus 2 minus 14. 28 divided by 3, yeah, ugly. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So let's check these. We never checked them. Negative 1 minus 28 is not negative 11. Negative 2 minus 14, that's going to be close, I think. Negative 2 minus 14. Negative 16, no. What about negative 4 minus 7? There we go. That's our answer. So when it's factored, it looks like that. All right. Just coming up on 20 minutes. We're on the last 2 questions. These ones are tricky because you have this number at the end, but you don't have anything with an x on it. So if you look at all the other ones, look at the 3 terms. X in the middle, 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 x in the middle. basically we need to have an x in the middle. So the first thing I do, I rewrite this. And I put an x term in the middle. And if there is none, then that means there's 0 x's. So we need numbers that multiply to -4 and add to 0. And if two numbers multiply to -4 and add to 0, well, if they add to 0, we know they're both the same, but one's positive and one's negative. And we know if it multiplies to a negative, it's a positive and a negative. So let's just do it. Let's do 4 divided by 1 is 4. So we get +1 minus 4, or -1 plus 4. Do either one of these pairs add to 0? They don't. So we do 4 divided by 2. We get 2. So +2 minus 2, or -2 plus 2. +2 minus 2 is 0. This one works. -2 plus 2 is 0. So they both work. So that means that my answer is either x plus 2 times x minus 2, or x minus 2 and x plus 2. And hopefully that doesn't surprise you. I've mentioned it a few times. For every single one of these answers, for this one, we could have moved this bracket in front of the other one. Right? The order doesn't matter. So every single one of these has two possible answers, and they're both exactly the same. It would be like saying 2 times 3 versus 3 times 2. They're both the same. Because the brackets are multiplying, the order doesn't matter. Last question. Try this one on your own. Pause it, try it now. Okay, we need an x term, so it's got to go in the middle. And we need two numbers that multiply to -144 and add to 0. If they add to 0, we know the numbers are the same, so let's just go through until we get numbers that are the same. So 144 divided by 1 is 144. That doesn't work. Divided by 2, 72. 2 and 72 aren't the same. Divided by 3. 3 and 48 aren't the same. Divided by 4. 4 and 36 aren't the same. Divided by 5. Nothing. Divided by 6. 6 and 24, not the same. Divided by 7. Ugh. Divided by 8. 8 and 18, not the same. Divided by 9. Holy, this has a lot of numbers that multiply to it. 9 and 16, not the same. 10 doesn't work. 11, decimal, doesn't work. Divided by 12. 12, hey, 12 and 12 are the same. We know that if it multiplies to a negative, it's a plus and a minus. So we know it's +12 and -12. So we get x plus 12 and x minus 12. And you could also write it in the other order, x minus 12 times x plus 12. And that's it, folks. I'm going to post a little quiz at like 3 o'clock on Wednesday. I'd like you to do it by Sunday. And I'm going to post a question where you attach your work. So I'd like you to take a picture of the work that you did, just to show me that you know what's going on. And again, this isn't like I'm not trying to catch you cheating or anything. I just want to make sure you know what you're doing. Because I think all that's important moving forward is that you've learned the stuff you need to know this year so that you're all set for next year, which is the last year you have to take math. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Email me. We can set up a phone call or whatever, and I can help you out. All right, good luck, folks.